This is the clerk with a courtesy announcement that the meeting is now live on YouTube and the meeting portal. This is the clerk with a courtesy announcement that the 6 o'clock Planning Commission meeting will likely start closer to 6:10 p.m. Thank you. This is the clerk with another courtesy announcement. This evening's Planning Commission meeting will start at approximately 6:10 p.m. Thank you. Sean? When you're ready.
All right. This is the call to order for the August 22nd meeting of the Santa Clara County Planning Commission. Will the clerk please call the roll to establish the presence of a quorum?
Commissioner Levy is absent this evening. Commissioner Cohen? Present. If you could use your microphone.
Mic.
Yeah, you have to turn
The
mic.
mic, the middle button, yeah.
The meeting is recorded and we miss voices otherwise.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Rouser?
Present.
Commissioner Escobar?
Present.
Vice Chairperson Belska is absent for the meeting. Commissioner Chairperson O'Donohue?
Present.
You have a quorum.
Okay. Please stand if you're able to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. My name is Sean O'Donohue, and I'll be chairing tonight's Planning Commission meeting. On behalf of the Commission, welcome to today's meeting. Please turn off or mute all electronic devices, including cell phones that may interrupt the meeting. The first item on the agenda is public comment. This item is reserved for people who wish to address the Commission on any matter within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Commission that is not on the agenda. The law does not permit Commission action or extended discussion of any item not on the agenda except under special circumstances. If Commission action or response is requested, the Commission may place the matter on a future agenda. Statements that require a response may be referred to staff for reply in writing. Members of the public who wish to address the Commission on a non-agendized item should request to speak at this time by giving a request to speak form to the Deputy Clerk if you're in chambers, or by using the raise hand icon if you're attending virtually. Are there any speakers?
We have no speakers in chambers or in the Zoom room.
Okay.
And that would be 3 minutes for general public comment.
Good evening. Sorry, respectfully, I was going to request item number 7 be shifted to the front. It's a status report and should be relatively brief. And it was also canceled from last month's hearing, so I was somewhat surprised that it wasn't heard first. So respectfully, a request, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, any more speakers?
We have no additional speakers.
No additional speakers. Unless anybody has an opinion, I think we'll keep the agenda as is. Okay. Okay. Item number 4 is the consent calendar. The next item on the agenda is approval of the consent calendar and changes to the Commission agenda. Are there any questions, changes, or discussion? Commissioner Rouser.
I make a motion, we approve the consent calendar.
I'll second his motion.
Okay, a motion to approve the consent calendar by Commissioner Rouser and second by Commissioner Escobar. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Cohen?
Yes.
Commissioner Rouser?
I approve.
Commissioner Escobar?
Approve.
Chairperson O'Donohue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. All right, item number 5, public hearing to consider renewal of a concurrent land use application consisting of a use permit and architectural and site approval to maintain the Charo Rodeo facility and events with a single-family residence and mobile home as a caretaker's unit with no modification or expansion of the existing use. California Environmental Quality Act exempt pursuant to section 15301 of CEQA guidelines. The owner is Los Hermanos Peña LLC and the applicant MH Engineering. The property address is 17555 Condit Road in Morgan Hill, parcel number 728-21009. The zoning is A20 AC SR and Supervised Road District 1. Does the clerk have a Levine Act announcement?
I do. Item number 5 is subject to the Levine Act Any party or their agents must disclose on the record a contribution of more than $250 to a commissioner, as described on page 3 of the agenda. Participants who have a financial interest and their agents are requested to make a similar disclosure.
Thank you very much. And does staff have a presentation?
Thank you, Chair O'Donoghue and members of the commission. We have with us today Senior Planner Laura Tran, accompanied by Principal Planner Rob Salisbury for support. And the item here is a renewal of a concurrent land use application that's been in use for several years as a requirement of the condition. With that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Ms. Tran.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Chairperson O'Donoghue and Commissioners. My name is Laura Tran. I am the Senior Planner with Department of Planning and Development, and I am here today to present on the renewal of a concurrent land use approval consisting of a use permit with architecture and site approval for the Charro Rodeo facility and events. To start off, the site is located in Morgan Hill, specifically at the corner of East Main Avenue and Condit Road, and Highway 101 borders the property to the west. The property is an 8.8 acre size lot with low-density residential and agricultural uses surrounding it, and the property has a general plan designation of agriculture medium scale and a zoning of A-20 AC-SR for exclusive agriculture with a minimum 20-acre lot and scenic road combined zoning districts. As seen on the map, all the area in green are zoned exclusive agriculture, and the area in light blue is the city of Morgan Hill, which borders this property. A brief overview of the existing facility shows the arena for the rodeo events in the middle of the property. Access to the site consists of 2 entrances and exits from Condit Road, highlighted in purple. The parking areas, highlighted in yellow, are completely contained on the property, and vehicles are directed by event staff to park in their designated spaces. The existing driveway identified in the red dashed line is for emergency fire access, and those vehicles have the ability to access both parking areas on the parcel. As mentioned in the staff report, the site hosts rodeo events from May to October, only on Saturdays, Sundays, and federal holidays of each year. The event starts from noon and doesn't go past until 7 p.m. in the evening, and the event operation consists of a maximum of 1,200 attendees per event. And the event is hosted inside an existing circular arena where people can watch rodeo, bull riders, and performers. Ticket sales are limited to 1,000 tickets that are sold online and in local supermarkets. There are a total of 427 parking spaces that are available on site where attendees can park. And 20 to 25 employees are present with an additional 25 private security personnel for each event. Before we get into the renewal and use permit, I wanted to highlight some of the project timeline. The property has had an approved use permit with architecture and site approval for the rodeo facility and events starting from 1984. The use permit with ASA was renewed in 1988, 1991, 1995, 2001, and as late as 2007, all related to the rodeo facility and events. The applicant is requesting for a renewal of their use permit, and staff is recommending the renewal without an expiration date. As previously mentioned, the site has been in operation since 1984, with subsequent use permit renewals from 1988 to as recent as 2007. The applicant is not proposing any changes to the facility or expansion of the existing use. It's also important to note that the property is maintained for agricultural use during the off-season between November to April. The facility and events itself provide opportunities for local families to experience rodeo events in South County, in addition to providing economic opportunities to many local horse riders, bull riders who support the local agricultural economy. The project is considered categorically exempt from CEQA per section 15301 for existing facilities as there is no expansion or modification of the existing site or use. It's important to note that the current use will carry all the conditions from previous approved use permits, including the post-approval monitoring. Therefore, staff is recommending the commission consider and adopt the categorical exemption for the Charter Rodeo facility and events pursuant to the CEQA guidelines. As mentioned in the staff report, the project meets the zoning ordinance findings for use permit and ASA as it is legal nonconforming with respect to size due to current lot size minimum requirement for this use. The project conforms to the applicable general plan policies where the use serves the local agricultural and rural community while preserving the long-term viability of the local agricultural lands. And finally, the project complies with the ordinance codes for drainage, parking, traffic, noise, lighting, fire safety, and solid waste management as those plans have been reviewed by county's subject matter experts. The project also meets all the findings related to architecture and site approval as stated in the staff report. And as of today, staff has not received any public comments as a result of early public outreach or public noticing. Therefore, staff is recommending the Planning Commission accept the categorical exemption pursuant to Section 15301 of the CEQA guidelines and grant the renewal of the concurrent land use application consisting of a use permit and architecture and site approval, subject to the conditions of approval. This concludes staff's presentation. I am happy to answer any questions the commissioners may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Does any of the commissioners have questions for staff? Commissioner Rouser.
Yeah, real quick. Can you tell me again, you sort of alluded to, but why is it non-conforming?
So the property itself, for the rodeo events use, the current zoning ordinance require a minimum lot size of 10 acres. It is considered legal nonconforming because the site itself is 8.8 acres, and it was established since 1984. So therefore, it's technically legal nonconforming.
Okay, and then do you know the rationale of why the permits were a limited time frame before, and when, you just remind me, when did it expire? Was it 15 years, the last one? Yeah.
Sure. So the reason why it has so many subsequent renewals was the original conditions had conditions for noise mitigations or noise monitoring, and therefore there were some issues back in 1988 and the early 90s where there were noise concerns from the neighbors. Therefore, there were subsequent renewals because of that, due to the expiration of those specific permits. And then the most current in 2007 was for 15 years.
Right. And then the PAM post-application monitoring, those reports have been filed every year?
That is correct.
Okay. That would have been helpful just to see evidence of that. I'm sure it went to the planning department, but we have no exposure to that I'm aware of. So, okay, that answers my questions for now. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, any other commissioners have questions for staff? No? Okay. Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Is the applicant present to address the commission?
Good afternoon, Planning Commission, staff. So nice to be back in this room again. Nice to see you also, Lizanne. I hadn't seen you in a long time. We've read the conditions, we've read the recommendations. We accept all of the conditions, and the two additional conditions, 58 and 59 and 70 on page 7 for an encroachment permit and a review from the fire marshal's office. I'd like to tell the commissioners that Mrs. Pena is here, the owner of the property. The promoter is here. In case you have any questions, the civil engineer, David, from our office is here. And people that support the project are here. So I know everybody wants to get out of here quick, so I've kept my presentation short. I hope everyone accepts the conditions. We thank staff also. They were very, very, very thorough. I told Laura I'm going to throw my file away and keep this one. It's good. Thank you very much.
Okay, you still have another 8 minutes and 51 seconds if anybody else wants to speak.
Good evening. My name is Ophelia Pena McCain. I am owner of El Rancho Grande, and I just wanted to thank the staff for the great report that they did, and we do accept the modifications that they have recommended, and thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Going once, going twice. Does the commission have any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Rouser, I don't know who you exactly want to direct them to, but they may have to come back up here to the podium.
Oddly enough, condition 43, and this is talking about the manure, and it says you need to cover it or remove the pile if animals are not present. In this, we are told horse boarding is not allowed, but I did notice some cattle and stuff possibly on the property. So I was wondering if there are animals present, and maybe this is more for staff, but what does that mean, remove the pile if animals are not present? When does that get triggered?
Through the
Is
chair.
that something we need to ask staff, or is that a applicant question?
Through the chair, we have DEH, Department of Environmental Health staff here. This may not be their focus area for the department, but I'll certainly defer to Darren Lee.
Hey, in South County, we're all about manure, so this is.
Darren Lee with Environmental Health. As I understand it, the attempt here is to ensure that if you will, the manure and if it exposure to rain and what have you may find its way into the Madrone channel. So the attempt there was to ensure that that material doesn't find its way into the channel itself. So by best management practice, we're asking them to either put a tarp over it to cover it while that season is occurring, or if there are no animals there and there are remaining piles of manure, to have that manure removed. That was it.
I understand exactly how it's written and why it's written. I'm just wondering, are animals ever there? Or do we even need that point? Just keep it covered or get rid of it? It seemed kind of odd if.
In this case, I would have to defer to my solid waste colleagues, as they were unfortunately,
okay.
they were the ones who came up with the conditions there.
Let me just ask the applicant, are there animals present after October 15th?
You'll have to come back up so we can hear you. I'm sorry.
And I guess the other question I would have for the applicant is, it looked like the dates changed from prior. So I was just wondering if it was October 15th through April 15th, but I think earlier it may have been a slightly different set of dates. So I just want to make sure that the applicant is very comfortable with those dates, because now's the time to adjust them, so I just want to make sure that, because sometimes applicants come and then they say, oh, I wish I woulda, coulda. So,
So it's, from my understanding, that the animals, the bulls, we do not do any horse boarding. There are no stables present on the property. The animals are moved to like another area where they take them to go graze, so they're not there during the rainy season. There are a few goats that are out in the field that kind of help maintain the grass areas and the parking area during the season. But when there's an event going on, they're contained.
okay. And then the dates themselves are, you're very happy with them, or is there
The dates, I'm sorry, can you
April,
clarify it?
the April 15th through the October 15th season that we have in here?
Yes,
Okay, and then, and the time, noon to 7?
yes,
That is well within the time that you need for your events?
yes.
Okay. And can I ask, 7 o'clock, is that the end of the official event, or that includes cleanup and everything else?
That's the end of the event. And then there's cleanup after.
Okay. Because it looked like on one of the reports, the noise reports, they had noise readings at 7:15, something like that, so I wasn't sure. Do the events sometimes kind of go over just a few minutes, or is it?
I would have to refer to the promoter.
Okay. Because that, obviously, if we have a cutoff date, we want it to be the cutoff date, so the neighbors and everyone is consistent, so, okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And before you walk away, I have a question for you. I had a question about your parking plan. Are the spaces marked, or how do you implement that when people start arriving for an event?
I believe that there is a parking attendant, but there are not, it's on grass, but there is not marked stalls.
Understood. When looking at the plans by the engineering firm, it looks very organized. I have driven by there before, and it didn't look so organized, and my concern was about emergency vehicle access. Is there some way you can kind of clean that up a little bit
Sure.
in your operations? I think that would be really crucial to public safety and ensuring everybody is safe.
Yes,
Okay.
okay. Anything else?
That's it for my questions. Okay, are there any speakers on this?
We have no additional public
No
speakers.
public comment. Okay.
Thank you.
Was the promoter going to discuss the 7 o'clock cutoff time?
I'm sorry, what button do I press? Or I just speak?
Go ahead and speak, and then I'll catch you after.
Okay, sounds good. So as far as music sometimes ending at 7:15, when we have like attendees of our 1,000 attendees, the live music gets cut off exactly at 7 p.m. But we sometimes have the DJ put mellow music so that the attendees could just walk slowly to their car. But it doesn't go past 10, 15 minutes max. That,
Okay.
yeah.
Through the chair, if we could just ask her to state her name, please.
Oh yeah, sorry, my name's Stacy Sencion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you.
Is there any other questions?
Not from me, thank you.
I don't think so. Thank you very much. And just confirming with the clerk that there's no speakers in-house or online?
No, we have no speakers in chambers and no raised hands in the Zoom room.
All right, thank you. Does staff have any additional comments? Seeing none? Okay, moving right along. Does the applicant have any additional comments? Okay, I don't see any hands being raised. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring back to the commission for discussion. Commissioner Rouser.
Yeah. Can you just explain why they, in unincorporated county, have municipal water and sewer on that parcel?
I think that's a question for staff.
So through the chair, if I may, so the property itself does have connections to the city of Morgan Hills water and sewer system. So I'm not sure if you wanted me to clarify on why, or?
Yeah, just normally we aren't allowed. You have to go through the whole LAFCO process and everything. So I was just wondering how that parcel got that. I'm not complaining. It's good they do.
Through the chair, I might assist here. I'm not sure if staff will have the answer as to why, as part of this hearing. Is that correct? You're not sure how that occurred?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So we would have to do some research on that to understand
That's
how
fine.
it occurred.
It was more curiosity. Since they have it, they can use it, and that's the important thing. Next question is, one of the things you guys mentioned is you don't want parking off-site, so you want to encourage lower-cost parking on-site. Can you explain, as an incentive to have parking on-site? So can you just unpack that for me? What does that mean, a lower-cost parking on-site? Isn't it free to them, and that's the lower cost, or?
So through the chair, sure, I can clarify that. So in order to incentivize people or the attendees to not park within the neighborhood, so parking is basically at, for one car is only at $1. So to incentivize people to park on site as it's contained within the property, so that they're not parking within the neighborhood.
Got it, okay. So there is a parking fee, but it's
very,
somewhat
very,
nominal.
right,
Yeah,
correct.
okay.
It is very, very low to incentivize on-site parking.
Okay. And then one of the conditions is on-site lighting has to be contained within the property. I know that's just a standard condition that we have. Most of the events and stuff, do they have like arena lighting and stuff on it? Because most of it is actually during daylight time, but they do have the caretaker living there, so they have the potential for, and maybe other security lights. So I was just curious on what kind of lighting potentially may fall into that condition.
Through the chair, so there's no arena lighting per, as you mentioned. The events the majority is during the daytime. And there is a caretaker's unit, and the light is emanating from that is mostly for residential.
Okay, so it looks like that wasn't to address anything, that's just the standard.
Correct.
We don't want that in the future to put in a bunch of arena lights.
Correct.
Okay. And I'll try and go quickly through this. The Valley Water permit, at one point you said they did not, they got permission for the culvert, but there wasn't actually bank protection that was installed. Is that something that should be installed? And I know that's through Valley Water. I think that was item 47.
Correct. So that was actually that was never installed, and therefore the owner has no plans on installing. Therefore, they just from Valley Water's standpoint, it's just they needed to on the plans just to clarify that.
Okay, but that's something we don't care about as a planning commission. That's Valley Water, and if they're okay with it, we're okay with it.
Correct. And Valley Water, my apologies. Valley Water did mention that they're okay with the conditions.
Okay, so were we then. On number 53, fire protection systems need to be maintained. What fire protection systems do they have that need to be maintained?
So it's related to the event permit for fire protection. So as mentioned, is one of the conditions is that, especially for the next 2025 event year, the applicant is required to do and apply for an event permit with county fire to make sure that the fire systems are functioning and working.
And what are the fire systems? That's what I'm trying to get at. Or is that literally the procedures that they use for fire access and all that is
Correct.
considered the
It's
systems?
for the procedures, fire access, making sure that there's adequate access for crowds, for the attendees as they're in the arena to evacuate if there's an emergency, and as
Okay.
well as fire access personnel.
Okay, and then the last one, can you look at number 58, condition 58? And maybe just explain that to me? And that's my last item.
Can you, I apologize, can you give us 1 minute to
Sure.
look at the condition?
And through the chair, may I just ask that Commissioner Rouser repeat the question for myself?
I need condition 58 explained, what that means.
Through the chair, I'm actually going to defer to Tom Esch. Should I say your last name
And
correctly?
it may be a carryover from years ago, I don't know.
Sure. I'm going to ask Tom to respond. He's from Rhodes, but I think he has a response for you available.
Sure.
So through the chair, Tom Esch, Roads and Airports. Frequently, when we look at access to the site, I believe this is referring actually to, while we take care of the driveway, what's in the right-of-way, but within, they're just making sure that it's aligned with our current standards, especially for emergency access. So this is actually tied to what both of us will be looking at.
Okay, site plan for the 2025 fire, is that event permit?
It should say event.
Shall show minimum 30 feet interior and 50 feet exterior as proposed on the, is that a turnaround circle? Is that a,
I think Gloria Ballard may be able to answer this question.
I'm just trying to, in plain English, what am I
Yeah.
agreeing to?
I think this needs clarification.
Okay, thank you.
Gloria, or yeah.
You want to reopen the public comment and allow him to?
Yes, we'll reopen the public comment.
Good evening, David Faria, civil engineer for MH Engineering. So 58 is talking about us widening the fire access radiuses on the interior of the property so that they can make the turns to do it.
So if we were going to, should we revise this to say shall show minimum 30-foot interior radius and 50-foot exterior radius,
Turning radius.
turning radius?
Yeah, that's the standard fire.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, yeah.
That would make more sense. Thank you.
Commissioner Rouser, that was your last question? Thank you. Okay, and any people, any additional speakers or public speakers or online or in person?
We have no additional speakers.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Any other items for discussion amongst commissioners? Commissioner Rouser?
Actually, to the staff, is planning department okay with the event officially closing at 7 o'clock and then continue DJ music after 7 o'clock? Is that something, is that within the spirit of the,
Through the
what
chair.
we're agreeing to, or is it literally they want no amplified sound after 7 o'clock? You know, what is the 7 o'clock
Through the chair.
cutoff? Is that the whole event and cleanup and everything?
Through the
Or-
chair, yes. My assumption through past conditioning is that they wanted the event to expire at 7 PM so that noise would not continue to be an issue. Staff does not have any issue with the low level of music while people are leaving the site. That's not a concern. I think it's within the spirit of the conditioning. If you'd like, through the pleasure of the commission, if you'd like to add a specific condition that clarifies or allows that more explicitly, I think that that's acceptable as well.
Yeah, I don't think the event 7 PM end was supposed to include cleanup, but, I'll ask staff if that's correct.
That's correct. So the 7 PM doesn't include the cleanup. So,
Does or does not?
does not. Does not.
Does not. So it's the event ends at 7 PM.
Okay, I would probably feel a little more comfortable if the amplified music had a cutoff at a certain point. So I would propose 7:30 and just say an amplified music will cease at 7:30. And that way it's a little more clear. Because you could literally have DJ music till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, it's a party.
If I could, through the chair, this is Principal Planner Rob Salisbury. I'd just like to note that there are additional conditions of approval requiring them to follow the county noise ordinance.
Right.
And there are decibel levels set through other conditions of approval.
So through the chair, I believe what Principal Planner is saying is that there are protections under our ordinance, and the conditions reflect those ordinance requirements. The code, I believe, is 10 PM for amplified sounds.
That's correct, yes.
So,
So if we leave it.
it's a little bit
th-
more
then it-
restrictive than our
Then the
ordinance.
noise ordinance just kicks in, which it's
Which is 10.
overlying anyway. And they can play till 10 o'clock, it's just gonna ramp down, the volume has to ramp down.
Yes, and for what it's worth, staff has not received complaints of this nature for the last 7 years that I've been here, or my understanding is even prior to that.
And I'm good with that. Okay, so then we know they can do it, but it has to just be under the noise ordinance limits, which we all know anyway, so, okay, we're good.
Okay, any other questions of staff or discussion amongst commissioners before a motion? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to make a motion to accept termination of category exemption pursuant to section 15301 of CEQA guidelines, and also grant renewal of the concurrent land use application consisting of a use permit and architectural and site approval subject to conditions of approval in attachment B. I'd also like to propose modifying condition 30 to just include outlining just a boundary of the parking rectangles, not every individual space, but every group of space, all four corners, just some sort of monument or stake so they know where they're actually supposed to be parking, and that public safety vehicles can access all the lanes. So that would be my motion.
Did you want to address condition 58?
I was gonna, I'll do a second, but I'd like to address 58.
You wanna do a-
And make sure we have the wording on 30 that staff agrees that it's distinct enough where we know what we're voting for.
And what was the wording on 58?
I think adding turning radius to 58.
Okay.
Yeah, I think site plan for the 2025 fire event, adding a T, permit shall show minimum 30-foot interior turning radius and 50-foot exterior turning radius as proposed, and it continues on.
Okay, it was
that-
just missing the wording turning radius?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
after interior and exterior.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a good addition to the motion. Do we have a second?
So with that, I'll second it, yeah.
Okay. Motion made by Chair O'Donohue and second by Commissioner Rouser. Can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Cohen,
Yes.
Commissioner Rouser,
I approve.
Commissioner Escobar,
Approve.
Chairperson O'Donohue,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay. All right, item number 6, public hearing to consider minor modification of a concurrent land use application consisting of a use permit and architectural and site approval to allow the use of a temporary parking lot for special events at Casa de Fruta up to 60 days per year. CEQA exempt pursuant to section 15304 and 15311 of the CEQA guidelines. Owner CDF Parkway LLC, Casa de Fruta, applicant Hannah Bernetti. Property address 10021 Pacheco Pass Highway, Hollister. Portions of assessor parcel number 898-21025, 898-21027, zoning ARSR, supervisory district number 1. Does the clerk have a Levine Act announcement?
I do. Item number 6 is subject to the Levine Act. Any party or their agents must disclose on the record a contribution of more than $250 to a commissioner as described on page 3 of the agenda. Participants who have a financial interest and their agents are requested to make a similar disclosure.
Do we need a legal thing for the last one or no?
15-day appeal thing, I think is what he's asking about. I don't care.
Well, technically, if, yeah, it doesn't seem like anybody wants to. Nobody exhausted their administrative remedies, but I wouldn't hurt.
Okay. Does the staff have a presentation?
Through the chair, Lisa Mikhail, Deputy Director. We have with us today 3 of our staff, Assistant Planner Michael Shui, who will deliver the presentation to the commission this evening, as well as Valerie Negretti, Senior Planner, and accompanied by Principal Planner Rob Salisbury. Just for clarification purposes, there's 3 APNs, so it's 898-21025, 898-21027, and 898-21010. And we're sensitive to how we're phrasing tonight's minor modification. This is to incorporate the parking lot under the use permit for this particular property. Those 3 APNs are 1 legal lot. With that, I will go ahead and hand it over to staff if they're ready. I know that they were setting up.
It's,
We are ready.
Great.
Thank you.
it's not screen sharing in Zoom.
One moment for technical. While they're doing the technical, I'll just go ahead and add, there are a set of track change conditions of approval that are in front of the Planning Commission this evening. They incorporate some changes that were reflective of the applicant's desires and also the final version of the conditions of approval that the county staff have agreed to. Not all changes requested by the applicant were accepted. We have notified the applicant of what we have accepted. And now it looks like we're ready, so I'll go ahead and hand it over.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Michael Shui, Assistant Planner with the Department of Planning and Development. This evening, I'll be presenting item number 6, a proposed minor modification of a concurrent land use application for a use permit and architecture and site approval for Casa de Fruta to allow the continuing of a temporary parking lot for special events. The project is located in South County in the city of Hollister, carries a general plan designation of ranchlands and roadside services, and portions of the property are zoned roadside services with a scenic road combining district, and agricultural ranchlands with a scenic road combined district. Surrounding use are primarily agricultural ranchlands and open space. Outlined in blue is the subject parcel for the current modification. The parcel outlined in yellow, along with the smaller parcels shaded red and green, represent the entirety of the Casa de Fruta property. The temporary parking lot, which is the subject of this application, is located at the north end of the parcel shaded in blue. Shown here is the site plan for a temporary parking lot. This temporary parking lot has been used continuously since the special event started occurring. Authorization for use of this parking lot was previously granted each year through an entertainment event permit. This proposed modification allows the continued use of this parking area in perpetuity. This area is not paved, and no paving or permanent development is proposed, aside from minor access improvements at the terminus of Casa de Fruta Parkway. There are a couple of large oak trees on the property which are to remain, and protective measures will be put in place on the days of the events. These trees are located where the circled dashed lines are shown on the site plan. And as noted above, the temporary parking lot will operate for a total of 60 days during the event season, which is between the months of April to October. Since it is a temporary parking lot which will operate only during daylight hours, no lighting is proposed. The lot features a queuing area with a 44-car capacity so that cars won't spill onto Casa de Fruta Parkway, which is a county-maintained road. 10 parking attendants will be directing traffic to designated parking areas to move vehicles along and to prevent any congestion within the parking lot. In response to first-round comments from county staff, the applicant has implemented changes to the traffic plan and lot circulation to feature one-way drive aisles and also to eliminate multi-turn intersections, creating for better flow throughout the lot. Following the conclusion of the event season, the lot is to be disked and returned to pasture for grazing. Staff recommends, the project is categorically exempt under CEQA guidelines section 15304E as a minor temporary alteration of land having negligible or no permanent effects on the environment, and under CEQA guidelines section 15311B and C, which exempts construction or replacement of minor temporary or seasonal accessory structures pertinent to existing commercial, industrial, or institutional facilities, including small parking lots. The temporary parking lot has been in operation for over 20 years and is ancillary to the existing approved use, that being the Casa de Fruta facility. Staff recommends that the commission accept the determination that the project is exempt from CEQA and to grant minor modification of a concurrent land use application for a use permit and architecture and site approval, subject to conditions of approval. During the processing of the application, staff received one public comment in regards to a large oak tree which is visible from Casa de Fruta Parkway. As noted previously, all trees are proposed to remain, and a project has been conditioned to require that the trees be protected during the days the parking lot is to be utilized. As noted previously, staff recommends that the Planning Commission include proposed condition number 1, which states that within a year of the approval of the temporary parking lot, the Planning Commission will consider a consolidated set of conditions of approval that set forth the approved operational parameters, structures, and uses on the subject property, composed of APNs 898-21-10, APN 898-21-025, and APN 898-21-027, which reflects all previous conditions of approval that are still relevant for existing development and uses on said property. And also that the applicant provide a comprehensive site plan that shows all current and approved structures, uses, and all existing improvements that support those uses. The language for this condition has been revised based on consultation with the applicant, and the revised condition has been provided to you for your reference. The revised condition has been changed to focus on the specific parcels associated with the subject use permit modification rather than the entirety of the parcel. This concludes staff's presentation, and we're now available for any questions. Thank you.
And through the chair, just a quick clarification. There were discussions. Mr. Shui was correct that we did edit or modify the condition based on a meeting with the applicant. Additional revisions to the condition were requested earlier. This is a fast-moving condition of modifications, but there were additional requests to modify condition 1. We did not accept the additional requests from the applicant, so I just wanted to place that as a clarification for the Planning Commission based on the presentation.
Thank you very much. Just kind of a follow-up question. Do we have, I downloaded the packet not too, maybe yesterday. Is there additional request in there? Or
There are
do we
not-
have that?
You have what's in front of you includes the acceptance of the applicant's requests to change condition number 9, condition number 11, and condition number 13. And those reflect the applicant's requested modifications to the conditions. Condition number 1 that shows track changes are clarifications to what was posted already online and is staff's recommended changes.
Okay. Do we know what they recommended? Would that be in the packet at all?
We do, and I can summarize, rather than, and we may want to just ask the applicant themselves, but I can summarize certainly. Condition number 1 requires that we come back to the Planning Commission in a year with the consolidated set of conditions that we can add, delete, or modify. The applicant requested that we alter that condition so that it became a may, and we do not agree with that, as well as removing the portion of the condition that allows adding conditions. It's important from staff's perspective to keep the word add, as through this process of looking at all of the compilation of conditions of approval for this property and the site plan, if there's a need to clarify the uses that are on the property that are allowed, we would like the ability to add a condition for that clarification.
Would that trigger coming before the Planning Commission again to
Yes.
review those conditions?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other requests that they had were changing the APNs to an address. Staff did not have time to verify addresses, but we did have time to verify the APNs that are one legal lot, so we're keeping it the same.
Okay. Any questions of staff from commissioners? Commissioner Rouser?
Yeah, I had ex parte communications, so I want to put that out there. And then the APNs, can you just unpack what you just said? Those APNs are one legal lot?
Sure, yes. Through the chair, Lisa McKyle, Deputy Director, the 3 APNs have been verified with the information submitted by the applicant to the county this week, as well as through one of our engineers in the county. It is one legal lot that consists of those APNs. And that, I could see staff putting the picture on your overhead. It's the area in blue,
Okay, and then
roughly outlined.
the consolidation of the use permits in 86 tied to what? Which of those?
What are you referring to, Commissioner?
In 1986, the Board of Supervisors combined the use permits for Casa de Fruta, so I'm just trying to find out, because now we have one use permit and, was it 3 ancillary?
Through the chair, that's part of the concerns that the county has with all of the sets of conditions of approval that cross the 4 different parcels on Casa de Fruta. None of the conditions of approval right now are referencing years. So when we come back in a year, you will have a cleaned up version of conditions. We'll have looked through every condition of approval subject to the subject parcel, and that is what we agreed for this condition with the applicant.
Okay, I understand that. I'm just, what do we have now that we can say? Obviously, we want to approve this parking lot because of the event, and I get that's coming up. But right now, we do have in place a use permit.
Correct.
That this thing is
Yes.
supporting. And to the best of county's knowledge, what APNs does that overriding use permit that we are attaching to, what does that attach to? What is it, one legal?
Through the chair,
Correct.
let me see if I can try and assist here. It sounds like you're asking, is there one umbrella of a use permit for the entirety of the Casa de Fruta campus versus use permits associated with the separate legal lots. For the project tonight that is before the commission, we are focused on the one legal lot, which has 3 APNs, and on this aerial is generally outlined in blue. On that, as part of the use permit, the collection of use permits on that property, it has an RV park. The Renaissance Fair occurs on that parcel, and we're now incorporating in perpetuity the temporary use of a parking lot for the Renaissance Fair.
But the conditions you have tonight are not overriding.
Understand.
Correct. That's the problem. You have different, you could not, there's not one place you can look at to see all the conditions that apply to the property.
But, okay.
That's why we're coming back in a year to clean that up.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions from commissioners to staff? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to open the public hearing. Is the applicant present to address the commission?
To the chair, we have speaker cards from Jean Zanger, Amanda Verdal, and Joe Zanger. Combined, they'll get to 10 minutes, and I'm not sure if they all wish to speak.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, planning staff and planning commissioners, for meeting with us tonight after hours on your personal time. I know this is difficult to go through. Tonight, I have 2 items that I need to make sure that we complete. My name is Gene Zanger. I'm 4th generation steward of Casa de Fruit, our family business. I'm here with my partner and cousin, Joe Zanger, and Amanda Verdal, who she spoke of earlier. This report, we absolutely positively, as Commissioner Rouser said, need this use permit modification in order for the Renaissance Fair to go on this year. It starts in, I think, September 14th. As a matter of fact, we have had an administrative review and permit for the parking area that we got in 2002 and has continued forward during that time. That administrative permit was granted by a planning group from a long time ago. They granted it based on that the parking was incidental to the use, it was temporary, and it did not change the use of the land. It's an agricultural pasture. At that point in time, it was owned by our neighbor. Recently, the property was sold as of last year. It was part of the purchase from the Valley Habitat Agency. We had prearranged and they agreed to sell us that parcel, but we were unable to work with the planning department on that prior to that sale. So what we needed to do is we needed to gain the access to that parcel through the purchase. Last year, we were granted a temporary use permit, a temporary special permit in order to have the parking there. We started a pre-application meeting in September to this process, knowing that we needed that use permit. So I do need to get the use permit modification approved so we can have the Renaissance Fair. It's critical. They've parked there for 22 years. It was administratively reviewed, and again, incidental, temporary, didn't change the use. The second item I'd like to talk to you about and get some resolution on is the 2 conditions, Condition 1 and Condition 2, that we would like to have removed from the use permit modification, ideally, and at a minimum, put off and discussed at a future meeting. But we can't put off the whole use permit because we need that parking end of it. The condition is related to the property that you see in blue. We purchased and lot lined adjust last year 20 acres for the parking, again from the Habitat Agency. The rest of the parcel, which is approximately 90-some acres, has been, part of it was purchased in 1982, part of it was purchased in the 70s. And those use permits that are on that particular property do not cross to other parts of the property, the other legal parcels that we have. Those are separate use permits. There's no cross with those. We need to be able to review the information that the staff wants because, as you know, Casa de Fruit is a long-running business. There's over 40 years of planning letters, information, approvals that took place with 2 EIRs that were done on the property. When staff looked at them, admittedly, it's confusing. There's a lot of things that went on there. There was a lot of different planning groups and departments that reviewed that. I was there for about 30-plus years of those projects. I was shepherding the EIR through there, so I've got some inside information about what was taking place and what was approved. So we need the time to go and sit down and review that. We're happy to do that without a condition. The county needs to go through the files, review the files, get them in order, and then we'd be happy to review those and discuss with them what's going on. We feel that putting a condition on this project it's not connected, and it's a bit of a heavy-handed overreach for us to have that condition put in there, where the planning staff is given an open ticket, if you will, at least in our eyes, to add, change, and delete use permits that have been granted over a period of 40 years when the part of the property was first purchased in about 1983. So my request is that we have the use permit approved for the parking for the Renaissance Fair so it can go on, and then have further discussions about condition 1 and 2, either deleting it or moving it to another meeting that we can address at that point in time. Thank you. Oh, and I also have copies of the changes that we suggested as a part of the revisions from today. We received the staff information last night, and we made some revisions today. Part of the revisions were, as Lisa said, part of them were approved, and others we still don't have agreement on. Thank you.
Thank you.
And through the chair, we may just want to clarify whether or not the other speakers wish to take up the remaining 4 minutes or speak on their own.
Does the applicant have any other speakers that want to present?
Through the chair, Amanda, there's 450 left. I'm not sure if you see, oh, you see it.
I'm Amanda Musi-Verdell with Hannah Brunetti. I'm the applicant on this project. I do have to say with staff that we were notified of this, that there was an issue, and I appreciate the time that staff has put in to try to make sure that we are able to park the Renaissance Fair and the Renaissance Fair could go on. And I know we had a meeting on Tuesday that was supposed to last an hour. It went well over that, and they got us the conditions. It's just I'm sorry we're before you with an issue. We really did try to work it out. We just couldn't come to terms in the time that we needed to. And so the whole thing is time. It's not that we're reluctant to work with staff or work through conditions or explain what use permits apply to which properties or any of that stuff. It's just we're running out of time. If they're in the meeting that we had with staff on Tuesday, I asked if we could just get a temporary use permit again for the parking lot, and I was told that that was not an option. And so therefore we could work through these conditions later, figure out which use permits are applying, that we're modifying, to your question, Mr. Hauser. And it didn't seem like it was an option. So if that is an option tonight, we would still appreciate that. If it's not an option, we would either like it to be stricken or whatever you please. If you have any questions on the history, Mr. Zanger gave a very complete history. They're very knowledgeable on the site. But the history of the process that we've gone through on this through the lot line adjustment and the reason for this modification. I'm happy to answer them. So.
Commissioner Rouser, do you have a question for the applicant?
Yeah, completely different subject, but condition 6 talks about lighting, and on the presentation we were told that these end at sunset, the events, and so is there ever going to be a need for temporary lighting when things go dark and people are leaving? Is that okay, or is that something that you would never even need, and therefore you're okay with condition 6 saying no lighting on the parking area?
Good question. The Renaissance Fair is from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's daylight hours. They move everybody out through the event about 6 p.m. The fair is scheduled so that it is prior to the change in daylight savings time. And so we, over 22 years, we have never used, there's no need for lighting out there. And people are able to get out safely.
Perfect, okay. I just want to make sure. Thanks.
And what's the date that you stop having, or having use of that parking lot?
End of October.
Yeah, I think it's, the dates are from November, let's see, can I use it? November to April.
Yeah.
You use the
Start using it in April and using it in November.
end of like November 1st, November 30th? Just
I don't know.
approximately.
November 1st. The Renaissance Fair actually ends typically the third week in October.
Okay.
That's when they have the public. They do have a couple of weeks where they are breaking everything down and closing it, but the parking lot is not in use.
Yeah.
It's returned to a hayfield, it's going to be grazed.
And when does that usually take place, when you disc it and?
November 1st, and then we'll be using the parking lot again April 1st.
Got it.
Yeah, so it was said backwards, so yeah. Yeah.
Okay, any other, well, do you want to speak to any more? Does any commissioners have questions for the applicant?
I saw what you did to Gloria, make her get her steps in, so.
Okay.
I have a question. Just regarding condition number 1, is it the 12 months that's burdensome, just to understand what it is around the process that's of concern for the applicant? If there was an extended period of time, would that accommodate your concerns, or is it the requirement itself?
In my opinion, it's an open-ended condition that opens up every use permit on the property. We worked with staff on Tuesday to explain there's 4 separate uses on the overall Casa de Fruta with 4 separate legal parcels. And so we clarified with them that we don't want to talk about the 3 other parcels. We just want to talk about this parcel. But opening up and reviewing every single condition on the property from 1983 to today, and potentially adding conditions. It feels like we have 2 hearings on the same project when we're just adding in a use that's been in use for 22 years.
I'm a little embarrassed to say it, but in the 80s, the Rance Bratton, who was the not planning director, but a planning staff or whatever, he had a cart, and it had 4 to 6 legal boxes on it, and they were Casa de Fruta. That was the Casa de Fruta files. They didn't even have them in the files. So there was a significant amount of papers on it. When he left, he cleared it out, and he got it to a more manageable state. But again, you're looking at 30, 40 years of files, and there were different issues that came up during that time period. Again, 2 EIRs that were done in 83 and 91 talking about the property. It does track, but it's not easy when you're looking back 30, 40 years to go through it. And we're happy to help the staff work through that. It's just the broad nature of the condition. I think it'll take a lot less than 12 months. So you're welcome.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that the planning department does not have unilateral authority to impose conditions. What the condition 1 provides is that any changes, consolidations, cleanup of these conditions would come back to the commission for review and potential adoption. So the ultimate authority to change any conditions or even the format of how they're laid out on the use permit, it rests with the commission.
Through the chair, if I could just supplement to clarify, this legal property right here that we're talking about that was in blue on the overhead, all of those conditions apply, and whenever you ask for a modification to the uses on that property, they are all subject to being opened up and reviewed. So in this particular case, there was complexity there to be able to achieve that in time for bringing this project before the commission. That is why condition 1 exists, is because we will come back, so this is not an issue moving forward.
Commissioner Escobar.
I have a clarifying question, actually, of staff. So for conditions 1 and 2, what is the actual intent? Is it just to make a clear picture? Is it to look for things that need to be adjusted according to current code and compliance? Is it, we want to look at the whole, every parcel? What is the actual intent? I can understand trying to create a clear picture, but I don't see why we would revisit other planning commission's decisions unless there's a reason for something that's detrimentally non-compliant in, as of 2024, not when the decision was made.
Through the chair, no intention here is to go revisit prior approvals at all. The intention here is to consolidate into one location a comprehensive set of conditions applicable to the parcel. And so through that, because we were not able to achieve that in time for this particular application. So there may be clarifications that are required from conditions that were there before, and we certainly wish to work with the applicant on what those clarifications are. Today, a full comprehensive set of conditions for this parcel is what the Planning Commission is considering. However, you do not have reflective here in writing all of those. They're by reference.
Yeah, and the other, it's not just a consolidation. There may be conflicts. I mean, we don't know until we go through all the documents, and so figuring out what the actual conditions are is very important. So going forward, the department and the property owner knows what those conditions are, and you don't have to look in 50 different places and try to figure those out.
Would it be fair to say that after due research is done, to have a report on the findings before recommendations come forward?
We can certainly add that. I'm not sure if the applicant is worried about that. We're not trying to reaffirm conditions, but if for some reason, I'm going to use an example, and I used this example with the applicant. If there was a condition that said a windmill is allowed on the south side of the parcel, come to find out the wind, and let me rephrase it. The condition says the windmill that is currently located on the south side of the parcel is required to be moved and relocated to the north side of the parcel. Maybe that never happened. And so part of this process is, do you wish to move that windmill to the north side of the parcel? How long do you need? That condition is going to be modified to provide a time frame. Or if they said, we no longer want to move it, we want to keep it in the south side, that's an amendment to the condition. We would analyze that, and that analysis would come before the commission at that time.
Would something in such of a format as an audit make sense then? Versus a full vetting of everything with findings, recommendations, and all of the above? Could we not incrementally approach this in a way that I think takes into consideration both sides' concerns, but getting at the root of where we're headed on this?
Through the chair, I don't want to speak for the applicant, but staff is not looking at this like an audit of this particular property. That is not our intention, to look at it like an audit. We're looking at consolidating the conditions of approval into one clear place. I'll give another example. An applicant calls the department and says, I would like to propose a use on a property. Staff can't efficiently respond to the applicant on what's allowed or what that process would be, because we have to go look through a vast array of locations and areas where all of this information is located. So we have a responsibility to come back and make it more efficient for both the applicant, remove any liabilities of the Planning Commission or the county, and have one consolidated set of conditions. Ultimately, that will be better for everybody.
Chair? Oh. If I could respond to a couple of things.
You have 2 minutes and 46 seconds.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Escobar. Just by way of understanding, On Monday, that's when we were looking at the staff report. Tuesday, we had a meeting. That first condition, that included all parcels, and there were some misnomers in there and misinterpretations. So that condition needed to be cleaned up because it included parcels that were not related to this use permit modification. That was a tremendous concern to us. Also, in that staff report, it talked about legalizing a use, which I reacted to, which the staff is aware of, because 22 years ago, there was a tremendous amount of scrutiny when the Renaissance Fair came to town. Nobody knew what it was about. The staff was up there, fire marshal, planning department, environmental health, land development. Everybody was there in order to understand what was going on. And that's when the understandings of the parking lot that were there. Where are you going to park all these people? The parking lot's been there for 22 years, and it's worked. I believe there hasn't been any complaints on that. I believe that there, to my knowledge, there's no current or recent complaints on Casa de Fruta as well. So we've been operating. It is working. It's not a new parcel. It's perhaps new to the planning department in understanding it, but the planning department, the planning commission has reviewed it significantly in those 40 years. So those been a part of that. So thank you.
And I think it comes down to the definition of consolidation. My definition of consolidation is taking 3, 4, 5 lists, whatever, and putting it into one, and then deleting, and if you need to, modifying. My definition of consolidation doesn't include addition.
Commissioner Escobar?
Sorry, one last thought on this. Is it possible to take 1 and 2 out as a separate item? Maybe item's not the word, but to separate it from the permit condition now, but we still are working on that piece independent of putting it in a permit?
Here's the thing. But for the need for them to legalize this parking, planning would have never brought this use permit modification to you because they would have cleaned it up first. So they're making a concession to go ahead and propose that the Planning Commission approve this use permit modification with the proviso that we will do this work that should have been done before this came to the commission subsequently. So that is kind of the deal. I mean, I have a lot of heartburn legally, but based on the fact that we can't cleanly say what are the use permit conditions that apply to this property. I mean, that's a horrible, vulnerable position to be in. So, I mean, you know, I was able to stomach it because of this condition, and County Council was pretty insistent on this condition because of this unresolved, just, you know, vagueness. So, I mean, I completely understand the property owner's, you know, concern, but I think that this work needs to be done, and by taking it out, I feel like there's no entree into making sure that this is going to really happen.
And through the chair, and just in light of sensitivity for, this is not necessarily a legalization of an unpermitted, it's to incorporate it under the use permit. So I'm just being careful with our terminology.
Thank you. Commissioner Rouser?
Yeah, I had a question for the applicant. Condition 1, in both versions of it, it says a comprehensive site plan that shows all current and approved structures, uses, and all existing improvements that support these uses shall be provided. Is that something you're okay with doing?
That is related to the legal parcel that's in blue that's there. We have old maps. The county, I believe, has all these maps because building permits were issued for them, some of them going back to the 70s. You know, it's a search of county files and records in order to access all that information. I think we got what we need, but it's just there's a lot of things that have happened there for 40 years.
Through the chair.
So I'm just trying to figure out, is this a Herculean effort on your part to have to come up with a bunch of stuff in order to have this process move forward, or is this something that is not that big of a deal?
It's a good question, Commissioner Rouser and stuff. Lisa and the planning staff witnessed my PTSD. I've had my best and worst days in this room. We've been under scrutiny in the 80s and the 90s and stuff. It took a tremendous amount of work, consultants, plans, projects, flights in order to get surveys, et cetera. And I feel like we did all that work and it's in the file. And I don't want to revisit that again. So I appreciate your question, given the fact that, yeah, this is the, hey, can we just take a look? And then I don't know where it's going to go, because that's how it started in the 80s. Was, you know, hey, we're just gonna take a look, and that involved multiple agencies and review with the county. We were under revocation hearings, which was considered for this. I think that's not necessary. It's too much. So I'm concerned where this is going to lead. Now, having said that, we're willing, staff putting together the files that they have, the information that we have, looking at it and saying like, okay, here's what we got. Oh, here's a missing piece. You referenced the Board of Supervisors meeting in 1986. The information that I have on that Board of Supervisors meeting in May 13th, 1986, was that was for an Indian powwow permit, and it went through the Planning Commission and then the board. And the board didn't do any consolidation of the permit. It was just an agreement that they would allow that event to take place in that year.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things to review. I can't blame it on staff because I could blame, wrong word. It's difficult for staff to go back through 40 years of paper and put the pieces together. It's going to be difficult for me, but I lived a lot of it. My cousin lived a lot of it. So, you know, we're going to be able to fill in some of the blanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rouser. You have 58 seconds left if you want to say anything else.
Sure, perfect world. The use permit modification is granted. The Renaissance Fair goes on for this year, using the parking lot that they've used for 22 years and was administratively approved in 2002. The other issues related to consolidation, condition 1 and 2, I have no problem working with staff on them, but as they are right now, because we didn't get all the issues that we wanted, if they could be pushed off to another meeting, happy to talk to them. As I told Lisa, I'm happy to talk about Casa de Fruta and the history and all the things that we've done there and that have been successful. And, you know, we don't have complaints. There's not an overriding issue to review it. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any speakers online or in chambers or public comment?
We have no additional speakers in chambers or in the Zoom room.
Okay. Does staff have any additional comments?
Through the chair, no.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Does the applicant have any additional comments in addition to your 10 minutes of time? You get 10 minutes of rebuttal time. I see heads shaking and thumbs up. All right. I'm going to close the public hearing. Okay. Bring the item back to the commission for discussion. Commissioner Cohen.
Thank you to the applicant and to staff, and thank you, Lizanne, for the explanation. I was just wondering if when the item comes back for the 6-month approval process, is it written in a way that if it's determined by staff and the applicant that you need more time to accomplish number 1, that we could address that?
Through the chair, it's at the pleasure of the commission if you'd like to add a clarification that through the department and the applicant, if additional time is needed, that can be resolved at the staff level.
Thank you.
Yeah, the condition 2 says it'll come back in 6 months with a staff report, but it won't actually, status report. But it won't come back for like the actual.
It's just an update on the agenda. Thank
so
you.
that's a year, but you're right. I mean, that could be extended.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, if I could just supplement, again, I don't want to speak for the applicant, but in our recent conversations, I asked if they would like additional time. They were, if the condition was required by the Planning Commission, that the year would be fine, but they requested the 6-month status report to come back as a way to come back and ensure that things were moving along.
Did you say the applicant requested the 6 months? or-
Yes.
Okay.
Number 2, they requested.
Commissioner Rouser.
I want to thank the applicant. I have attended many events at Casa de Fruta, and you guys provide very good service. This has been explained several times, and it still is confusing, and it looks like planning has some work to do on this, and that's no fault of your own. This is years of planning turnover and whatnot. It happens. So my thought, this is to my fellow commissioners, I would feel better if item 1 did say May on the meeting, and the adding and modifying and deleting conditions, because if, in my mind, the applicant and planning staff, they can meet and do all of the updating of files and this and that, and come up with stuff, and it may be that we don't find that there's 100 different duplicate items or stuff on it. So it may be in the best interest to even say that a lot of that stuff can just be worked out, clarified, and if we needed to do, I think there can be an agreement between the applicant and the staff to say, hey, we can do some cleanup stuff, but it gives them the option to say, no, we just need to update the records and understand what we're dealing with, and everything seems to be fine. So that would be my recommendation, is go through the process, because I think it's necessary, but I find it hard to tie it to a parking lot that's been going on for 20-some years. And even though, as a planning commissioner, as a commission, we can decide what to approve and what not to approve, and we would do it to the best that we could. I would feel more comfortable saying May on that.
Yeah, a couple questions or issues. First of all, staff and the applicant can't agree to revise the conditions. Any changes to the use permits must be made by the commission. That's a constraint that we all have to deal with.
I understand it would come back to me. That I understand.
Okay.
But
yeah, I mean, the way condition 1 is it's written right now, it says within a year, the commission will consider a consolidated set of conditions and will hold a hearing and may add, delete, or modify conditions. So do you want to make it contingent whether you will consider a consolidated set of conditions and will hold a public hearing? I mean, we felt like we needed to put some directive language in there to make sure this happens, even though ultimately it's at your discretion whether to modify, delete, add, whatever you want to do to the conditions.
it says that I don't know which one to read
Through the
right now.
chair.
If there's a comprehensive, if they are providing, and that's what my question was earlier, if they are providing a comprehensive site plan,
Through the chair, the condition, when we return,
understand
does
that's
say
May.
May. Right.
I'm just,
The affirmative is that we will come back to the Planning Commission with a set of conditions, and the Planning Commission may, at that time, accept what we bring or further modify. So that's the may.
and I'm suggesting May, if there is no need for a meeting, because everything, you guys now understand what is in the file and the file is now complete, then
The problem, Commissioner Rouser, is that there is not a comprehensive understanding of the conditions across all 4 properties or this particular property. And so consolidating those and bringing them forward is what is required. We're required to look at when somebody is modifying the use permit for the legal lot, we are required to look at the comprehensive set of conditioning on that property. As Lizanne County Council noted, in order to meet that requirement of review for this particular application in time for the event, it was not possible.
No, I understand. But when you say 4 different use permits, this doesn't attach to 4 different use permits.
It does not. Through the discussion we had with the applicant on Tuesday, was it Tuesday? I believe it was Tuesday. They noted that they believed that they had 4 legal lots. We asked them to provide that information, and in a very expedited manner, staff reviewed that at the last minute to determine that there were 4 separate legal lots.
Okay. And so you're suggesting that we look at 3 parcels, and we're back to my first clarifying question. Are we looking at the fuel station use permit? Is that part of this or not?
Through the chair, no. There are 3 separate assessor parcel numbers. Assessor parcel numbers do not determine whether it's 1 legal lot or 3.
Right.
So this 1 legal lot that is depicted in blue on the screen is comprised of 3 assessor parcel numbers.
And so in that blue area is what we're talking about, condition 1 applies to, because it lists the 3 now that we have that.
That's correct. The original condition noted all the assessor parcel numbers for every property that you see on your overhead. And through the discussion on Tuesday, we agreed for this particular request to incorporate the parking lot under the use permit for this legal lot. We would refine the condition to be limited to that legal lot.
Okay. I've stated my.
Thank you, Commissioner Rouser. I just want to make an observation. This does seem very rushed, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around the entirety of conditions 1 and 2. I feel a little uncomfortable about the wording in condition 1. Has the event had any complaints relating to the parking lot?
Through the chair, I'm looking over at staff, and they're all shaking their head. We
Okay.
are not aware of any recent complaints. I'm certainly not aware since I've been here for 7 years.
Okay. If this item was potentially continued to a date certain, could we, well, first of all, first part of that question is, would they be able to use that parking lot?
No.
And could we allow them a temporary permit for this year through November 1st, and then come back to a date certain, like the November Planning Commission meeting, to see if you have agreed on some better terminology?
You could add an expiration date to the permit if you wanted. I thought that's what, well, I mean, the only way to legally allow them to do that, and maybe I misunderstood the question.
Through the chair, there is not enough time to be processing a temporary permit, and when you look at the language of what a temporary permit allows, an entertainment permit, it's not for this. This is incorporation of the parking lot in perpetuity under the use permit that is associated with this particular legal lot. And this modification allows that.
What I'm saying is you could allow that, you could include a condition in the use permit saying that you can allow the temporary parking lot until X date. I'm not
understand.
suggesting that, I'm just, that I thought that that was what your question was getting.
It,
trying to
it
get.
wasn't, but that's good
Okay.
information to know.
Okay, sorry.
You know, there hasn't been any problems, and so you know, we have to figure out a way to allow them to go forward this year. So that's kind of what I was getting at. Commissioner Rouser.
I'm just going to go ahead and, if we could have the wording up for the motion, that would be helpful. I make a motion that we accept determination of CEQA categorical exemption, and we grant minor modification of a concurrent land use application for a use permit and architectural and site approval, subject to conditions of approval in attachment B, and changing item 1 to say, it's all the same except for adding in May before the meeting.
Can you just read the?
So within 1 year of approval of the temporary parking lot, the Planning Commission will consider a consolidated set of conditions of approval that set forth the approved operational parameters, structures, and uses on the subject property, APNs listed, that reflects all previous conditions of approval that are still relevant for existing development and uses on said property, which is one of the 4 legal properties of the Casa de Fruta campus. Planning Commission may hold a duly noticed public hearing and may add, delete, or modify conditions of approval to establish a consolidated set of conditions. Everything else is all the same.
Staff's amenable to that edit.
I will second his motion.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Rouser and second by Commissioner Escobar. Can I get a roll call?
Commissioner Cohen,
Yes.
Commissioner Rouser,
I approve.
Commissioner Escobar,
Approve.
Chairperson O'Donohue,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, next item, number 7. Receive report from the Department of Planning and Development relating to status of appeal of the November 5th, 2021 decision of the zoning administrator to deny a concurrent land use application consisting of design review and grading approval. Applicant Cove Britton, owner of the Waters Family Trust, property address, location 0 Peacock Court, Cupertino, parcel number 351-42004, zoning HSD1, supervisorial district number 5. Does staff have a presentation?
Through the chair, yes, we have with us today Senior Planner Cho Aluwalia. As a reminder, this item was before the commission at its April hearing. It was continued to a date uncertain. Through that motion and the request of the director, the commission requested a status report. Today is a status report, and Mrs. Aluwalia will provide an overview. So I'll go ahead. It's just a verbal overview. Before she begins, we should clarify this item is not publicly noticed. It's not required to be publicly noticed for a status report. And so deliberation and discussion of the item really is not permitted.
So good evening, Planning Commissioners. I'm Charu Aluwalia, Senior Planner with the Department of Planning and Development. The item before you is a status report on PLN 2124 APL2, which is an appeal of the November 5th, 2021 decision of the zoning administrator to deny a concurrent land use application for design review and grading approval for a single-family residence in the HSD1 zoning district. So as Ms. Mikhail had shared earlier, the last action on this project was taken by Planning Commission at the April 25th, 2024 hearing. At that meeting, the Commission continued the applicant's appeal and the hearing of this project to a date uncertain and directed the applicant to submit a final application to address unresolved issues and provide story polls. Based on the planning director's request, the commission further directed staff to provide a status report on the progress of this project at the July Planning Commission meeting. As no revised plans were submitted up to the point of the June PC meeting, the commission was notified that the status report would occur in August, as the July Planning Commission was to be canceled due to lack of items. So today we're returning with the status report. As noted in staff's presentation and the status report, the applicant submitted revised plans in early July, and after review of the revised submittal materials, LDE and DEH and planning still have continuing unresolved items. Staff offered an informal courtesy meeting to clarify and discuss the unresolved items. However, the meeting was not accepted by the applicant. Thus, the list of unresolved items are attached with this status report. The department will be bringing back the full analysis of this project to the commission at the September 26, 2024 meeting, and the continued public hearing will be noticed at that time. As of yesterday, a letter addressed to the Planning Commission in response to the unresolved items was submitted by the applicant. Staff hasn't had the opportunity to review the submitted letter, but the applicant's response letter will be considered by staff in the full analysis of this project, which will be presented at the September 26, 2024 hearing. And with this, I conclude the short, brief status report, and I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Rouser?
So this wasn't publicly noticed, so what are we allowed to discuss or ask, or I just need further clarification. Are we done, or?
No, you can have discussion. I mean, you can ask questions. You know, we're not here to decide things, right? This is just a status report.
Okay.
Or take sides, or, you know, say who's right or who's wrong, whatever.
Right, okay. Well, I'll hold comments till later. Thank you.
Okay, does staff have any other comments regarding the status report? No? Okay. Any questions of staff from commissioners? Okay. We'll open the item for public comment. Are there any speakers for this item?
I believe Mr. Britton wishes to be heard, and we have no additional speakers beyond him.
Thank you.
Good evening. Bill Britton, Matt's Britton Architects. I'll try to keep this brief, as this is just a status report. I believe the letter I sent to the Planning Commission was fairly comprehensive. If you have any questions regarding it, please don't hesitate to ask me. I did want to note our primary focus in the submittal was to address 3.20.040D so that we met the letter of the viewshed ordinance. Though there are policies and ordinances state that when there's low visibility, these things aren't necessarily. What we did was we moved the house 4 inches downhill because we needed a 5-foot offset and we had a 4'8" offset. That's required for a wall that's 150 feet long. Our wall was 151.5. Moving the 4 inches took some time because that required the landscape architect, the geologist, the civil engineer, and our office, and also septic, our environmental health consultant, to all coordinate for that 4 inches. Normally I would just do a dimensional change, but it seemed in this instance best to be thorough. On the other side, the downhill side of the house, the basement wall was 150 feet without an offset. Though it doesn't face the valley floor, again, there's exceptions for that, we went ahead and took the courtyard patio and moved it out 5 feet to break up that. So again, the letter of the law. On the portion of the house facing the valley floor, we hipped the roofs back so that the 23-foot height, if I'm doing that from memory.
If you could just wrap up your in a few seconds here.
Those were the three things we focused on, and I'll leave it to questions. I think the letter's pretty comprehensive in responding to staff's concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
I don't know that we can ask him questions.
You can ask questions. We'll let you know if it's exceeding what we've reviewed and are prepared to respond to this evening. We're not prepared to be responding to an analysis of the project.
Right.
That's still under review.
One of the items in there is the water to the property, and apparently there's a meter or something that's already there. Can you just describe, this is a private, shared, just
So
what kind of water supply is it? Do you have gallons permitted information? Do you have tanks? Or is this literally a?
This was a subdivision. As a condition of that subdivision, they formed a water company out of each member of the subdivision. And the water meters were installed at that time. So they already have water service. Certainly, county health can monitor the wells and so on, but it's conclusive information that we submitted that it has water service. There's no will serve issue here because it already is there. And we've checked with our attorney. I would think this is sort of now branching off into more of a legal question. And everybody's concurred that we've provided the information that's conclusive that this project has water. This issue came up relatively late in the game, frankly, because it was originally accepted. Staff, some planning staff or environmental health staff were questioning the ADU. Does it need a separate water meter? By state law, no, it does not. That's not a requirement. And ADUs are not to be considered towards density. So again, this was a late arising issue over a as-of-right ADU, and it's not required to have a separate water meter. Many jurisdictions don't require a separate water meter. And there's none for this subdivision.
And then on some of your letters, you mentioned the Professional Engineers Act. Can you just, does that, in your opinion, does that apply to the county, or is that something different?
It actually does. We're actually familiar with the past chair of the licensing board, and we've dealt with this issue also with actually coastal staff. You have to be a licensed engineer to comment or opine about civil engineering documents. You know, there can be plan check, like you can have a certified plan checker, but even with that, typically, we get stamped and signed responses from the county engineer when they're commenting on the civil engineering documents. You know, there's a little bit of slop. I know planners have to review these things, but we feel it's really important, considering some of the difficulties of communication on this. As you'll notice in the Mr. Irish's letter, there's some misunderstandings, some inaccuracies that may be sourced from the planning staff. Respectfully, we also have a case where comments have been made that were from last hearing that said that it could be a conditional approval, and now it's been changed. And we also have letters that have not been responded to from the project engineer. Frankly, the reason we turned down the in-person meetings, we felt we needed to get these things in writing. Respectfully, we felt some things were moving targets, and we were under advice of counsel, get it in writing.
Right. I read the letter, and most of this, if not all of it, was detailed. I just have some questions sort of that sprung from that, so I just wanted to clarify that. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it from.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Rouser. Does staff have any other items for discussion or comments?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. There's no voting on this item. It's just receiving a report. So we'll move on to number 8, and probably the favorite item of the day.
I have more questions for staff.
Oh, you did?
And you need to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Commissioner
Through
Rauser.
the chair, just a correction, it's not a public hearing right now.
Okay. So I have some questions, if I could.
Yeah,
I don't-
please.
I don't want to prolong it, but are we subject at all to the Professional Engineering Act?
That's not something through the chair that I can respond to at this moment. We'll certainly look at whether or not that's a requirement under employment standards for the county and review of projects.
Okay. And the letter for the water, is that just, hey, do you have access to water, or do we need to know information to say how much can it support the fire sprinkler systems? Can it support whatever uses for the ADU, the house, the volume, and so forth?
It's Darren with Environmental Health, through the chair. So typically, it's a standard we've always sought for vacant parcels and new development, that we have an acknowledgement from the water purveyor that, granted that there is service that would be provided. As the applicant had noted, yes, this was done under a subdivision, but again, I don't believe the subdivision analyzed whether or not, what types and how many connections are going to be supported by this water company. So again, it's for us to feel safe that there is going to be water and ample enough water so that hopefully someone in the background within the water company is actually doing the analysis and trying to figure out, yes, there is ample water to support this. And we've had other development that's concurring, ongoing on the adjacent to this property. We've sought will serve letters from their neighboring property, which is undergoing similar building permits, and they were able to provide a will serve letter. And granted, these people are also members of this water company, and they took it upon themselves to actually provide us with that will serve letter upon request. So again, for us, it's something that even though we'll be asking again later in the day, whether or not, yes, please provide us with that information, that a will serve letter is applicable. We've heard feedback from the applicant, but yet we've not heard from the water company themselves. So if anything, we'd like to get that will serve letter.
And through the chair, through the testimony provided, there was also some, I think, unintentional statements there of wells versus connections to water mutuals. Those don't go hand in hand usually. So, staff does need to understand whether there's capacity of water to allow the development on the parcel. And so we are continuing to seek that information.
Okay, and then can you just unpack a little bit on conditions of approval versus having approved plans up front? It seems like 2 or 3 items possibly they were floated that this could be a condition of approval, and just in a general philosophical standpoint, when do we, I would assume most of the time we prefer approved plans up front because then we know what we're voting for. But if it's something that's pretty industry standard, we can then say, as a condition of approval, you have to follow such and such standards or list our ordinance items that it has to comply with. So I was just kind of wondering philosophically, where do we stand on the ability for us to just say conditions of approval on some of these remaining items? We don't need to go through all of them, but what's planning department's rationale to say, no, it's better to have that up front, we don't want a condition of approval?
Through the commission, I'm not sure if this question is stemming from the letter that we've not had time to review from the applicant, or if it's just a general question, because.
A general question right
Okay,
now,
I
because
just
I
wanted-
don't want to.
You know, I think it depends. It depends on what the level of the conditioning is. Generally speaking, what's in front of the Planning Commission is what is ultimately approved. And there's standardized conditions that require consistency with what was presented at the hearing versus what is presented to the building division when they're applying for their construction permits. If there was a condition that was, the plan may have said the light reflectivity value was designed at 45 and the commission wanted to condition it, you know, at a different level, that's an appropriate condition of approval. But typically we don't add conditions to get the plan from planning up to par with our codes. That is not typically how we approach conditioning at the county. So we're not prepared tonight to answer any specific condition
And that's why
questions.
I'm keeping it as general as possible, just so we.
Sure.
I can appreciate conditions of approval in the right circumstances, but there comes a point when it's sort of like squeezing a balloon. You squeeze over here and then it pops out over there. So it may be you're trying to satisfy a condition of approval, but it's going to affect several of the other plans.
And design.
And then it becomes inconsistent, and the building inspectors are like,
Or they have to come back through the process
Exactly,
respectfully,
yeah.
which is really what we try to avoid and happens more often than we're comfortable with at the county here. But, you know, when we're analyzing the project, if there's an appropriate level of conditioning, we'll consider that. I'm not sure if that's where we're at right now, but we will consider that.
okay. And where possible, if it comes back to us, or when it comes back to us, or whatever, it may be nice to have some options to say, if we're at an impasse and a condition of approval can get us to that point where we feel comfortable, then I would encourage us
Sure,
to
I
have
think
that wording available.
as an alternative, although this is not standard practice, if we're comfortable in our analysis, as an alternative, we can provide a set of conditions to help guide the Planning Commission. I think that we can provide that for this particular application to bring it to closure.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rouser. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Okay. Now I'll close comments and move to item number 8, officers election. Okay. Well, it's been fun being chairperson, and now it's somebody else's turn. Commissioner Rouser.
Hey, I just want to say thank you for all your efforts in this, and you even squeezed another month out of it. I would like to nominate Commissioner Escobar to be the chairperson. She did a great job last time, and I think she would be good, even better in person.
I'll second that nomination.
And unlike me, I would hope you would vote for that nomination yourself, because we need a quorum.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Rouser to elect Commissioner Escobar as chairperson, and second by myself. And can we get a roll call vote?
Commissioner Cohen,
Yes.
Commissioner Rouser,
I approve.
Commissioner Escobar,
I suppose it's a yes.
Chairperson on his way out, O'Donohue.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Excellent. Okay, and the next part of this section is to elect a vice chairperson, and I would like to nominate Commissioner Rouser as vice chairperson.
I will second that.
Okay. Motion to elect Commissioner Rouser as vice chairperson by myself and second by Commissioner Escobar. Can we get a roll call vote?
Commissioner Cohen?
Yes.
Commissioner Rouser?
I approve.
Commissioner/Chairperson Escobar?
I definitely approve.
And Commissioner/Chairperson O'Donoghue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Wait, we can fight over the mic. All right, I'll finish. Okay. Next item on the agenda, number 9. Give me just a second. Receive report from chairperson. I have no report. Any report from commissioners?
I'd like to report that I attended the Gilroy Rodeo, and it was good times for all. That's something we approved in the past, and I really had a good time.
I did too. That was a good time. Report from the county council.
No report.
No report. Report from the planning commission secretary.
No official report from the Planning Commission Secretary myself, but I do would like to echo and thank Commissioner O'Donoghue. The first hearing that he ever had here was for our housing element and Stanford Community Plan. So I'm not sure that that's happened in the 7 years I've been here, but that was a rodeo of itself, I'm sure. So thank you for your time, and excited to have Commissioner Escobar chair.
Excellent. Okay, we receive report from the Deputy Director of Planning Services.
Lisa McKyle again. The only thing I have to report is that we, and I may have done this at our last hearing in June, but we did officially hire and have a new senior planner coming on board. September 3rd, I believe, is their start day. And we are out for recruitment for 3 additional senior planner positions, one of which is going to be closely, a lot of their workload will be geared towards ag employee housing and our ag-related processes here. I believe there's a future outlook of them possibly even being physically positioned, at least part-time, down in the South County for these ag-related items. So that's more of a vision and not official, but we're looking into it.
All right, and you're not going to believe it, but receive report from the director.
So Lisa McKyle, I'm not the director tonight, but I am standing in for our director, Jacqueline Onciano. I don't have anything particular to report other than we continue to move forward with our recruitments for the department as a whole, including hopefully our code enforcement manager will one day get filled, so.
Excellent. Commissioner Rouser?
I just have a request for a future agenda item. A potential applicant came forward and is part of the builder's remedy, and I would like us to be informed on it ahead of getting asked these types of questions by people out there. So to the extent, and I understand it's all kind of evolving and there's state law and court law and cases and everything, it is not as cut and dry as we would like it to be, but as a commission, I would like to be somewhat informed on that. So I'll just put that out there, having a little study session on that, and how is that going to be any different from the normal applications that we get?
Through the chair, we'll consider an appropriate avenue to inform the commissioners of builder's remedy, whether it's through an agendized item or whether it's separate information provided to the commissioners individually. There are some complexities with these applications here at the county, so we're very careful with what we're announcing. So we'll look into providing some education for SB 330 builders remedies to the commissioners. May not be on an agenda, but I'll discuss this further with county council.
Okay, but as commissioners, and if something comes before us, I want to be educated on it. So I just
absolutely.
There may be nuances within the department because of some of the gray areas. I can understand that, but as a commissioner, I want to know what my role is and how to keep us from being sued.
Absolutely, and we certainly desire to do that as well. We're early in the processes at the moment, and for better or for worse, we're still navigating it. But we will find our best way to approach the commissioners to provide that background.
Yeah, I'll echo Mark's comments as well, so look forward to that. And this is, I missed the last meeting we had, so this is my first meeting our newest commissioner, Commissioner Cohen, welcome. Is this your first meeting, or is?
It is my first
Oh,
meeting,
okay.
so
Well,
thank
welcome,
you very much.
welcome, thank you. Well, because of you, we were able to have a meeting today
My
and
pleasure,
vote on
yes.
some things.
Thank you, Peggy.
All right, item number 15, announcements and correspondence. There's currently one vacancy on the commission, and received correspondence ID 121246 regarding Sergeant Ranch. And that will be it. Time to adjourn. The next regular meeting is scheduled for Thursday, September 26th at 6 p.m. in the Board of Chambers.